He has a 1-1 count. That one's struck high. Left side. That one's going. That's right here off the ropes. You have to be kidding me. Fireworks. And here you go.
And welcome all inside High&Tight, the flagship show, part of the Iowa Baseball Network. Thanks again for joining along, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, we do what we do here. We talk about baseball from the high school, professional, all the way to the college ranks as well. We're all across the spectrum, and we're glad that you're here with us in another great edition of, again, High&Tight. It's your show. We always want to bring you what you talked about, and speaking about talking about, I've had a number of people come up and say, hey, might be something that you want to talk about, and that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the great folks and the great mind behind the Changeup Circle. That's coming up here, and we'll be talking about that here with Coach Duchesne coming on up here. But first, I want to bring up the man to my right, the man, the myth, the legend, known as Chad Erickson. Chad, thanks for joining us again. And as I get everything situated there, we're here to talk about something that I'm pretty excited about. We got a glimpse of Coach Duchesne there. Really want to break down his mind as well, because it's going to be something. It's a product that I got the chance to get initiated with a couple years ago at the Iowa High School Coaches Clinic. And it's in today's world, you see a lot of gimmicky things, right? And you and I have constantly been searching for things that make an impact, that do the right thing. And I think we got that here. And honestly, Chad, I think when you find something that's well worth it, which I've seen a lot of great reviews on this, it's well worth to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has got great potential. I think I'm excited to talk with Coach Joe about this and just see what his experience has been as he's gone through and introduced his product to the baseball world, and hear the feedback that he's receiving. And I'm really excited to ask him. I've got some questions on the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to let them loose before I talk with him. So thanks for having me on today. I'm excited to discuss this great baseball aid.
Hey, no doubt about that. But before we go any further, though, I got to give a shout out to Banana Ball right here. As you can see, I got my official Banana Ball. I will say that if you are thinking about getting a Savannah Bananas game going, do it. Get there. Try it. I mean, if you have to hustle your way to get the tickets, I think it's well worth it. It was a great time, very, very interactive, and we got the chance to be right up next to the dugout, and you have no choice but to be interactive right up next to the dugout. And so I got the chance to bring my wife with me, but I urge you, if you get the chance, kids of any type, Chad, I mean any type, they crowned a baby banana. You know, there's a baby there, and they crowned him the baby of the game. You had anywhere from 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds. Everybody was a part of this. So if you get the chance, ladies and gentlemen, get on the list. Banana Ball was well worth it. Party Animals, very fun as well. Liano, I want to give a shout out to him. He was pretty fun. But again, get out there. Chad, by the way, have you ever thought about catching up a Savannah Bananas game? I mean, I've always been interested to ask, because you're a big baseball guy and you like the traditional style of baseball. Does this kind of thing jar you a little bit?
It's fun and exciting. My kids introduced it to me. Of course, all these YouTube videos, you see those, and how can't you fall in love with the fun atmosphere? And so for some street cred, I had to go out and get some T-shirts for the family. And as soon as the boys wore those to baseball practice, constantly getting comments and things like that. So we got to make it a point to get out to a game. We haven't been to a game. We're kind of enjoying their stuff from afar on YouTube. There's plenty of content out there. So if anybody's curious about Savannah Bananas baseball, just type it into YouTube search, and you're going to have plenty of video to review for your enjoyment.
I will say, Chad, the Dad Bod Cheer Squad. If you don't get the chance, look them up as well. Maybe not for the most young eyes, but it is really funny. It is hilarious. Everything. It doesn't matter who you are, what type of level you're at. You're gonna like it. Enjoy it for sure. So again, that's the plug, I guess. They're not paying us to do that, but I'm just saying it was a great time that we got to do that. But speaking of great time, while we're here, again, I'm from my home studio. I got the Sandlot in the background. I got my stuff. And by the way, life's too short to bunt or to take fastballs down the middle or bunt, according to the Bananas. So they don't do any of that. But again, we're talking about a product here that really seems to be changing the game. And we get the chance to talk about Circle Change, and we're going to bring in the guy who has helped, who has ushered that in, and that is the one and only Coach Joe Duchesne, joining us on the Inslides.com hotline here as he joins us. And I want to say, Coach, appreciate you coming along for the ride. Thanks again, as always, because I know that there are plenty of things going on in the world, but thanks again for taking the time.
Yeah, no, I appreciate being able to get on the show with you. You know, I know we've been trying to connect for a couple weeks, and we finally put it together. So appreciate you inviting me.
Well, as I get everything set, and I do want to say that the first time, again, that I saw Circle Change, and again, for those who aren't quite familiar with it, there's a little image up on there. It's kind of just a little glimpse of what it is. And at first, when I saw it, and I give credit to Lee Toole, I asked about it, and he goes, you got to check it out. This is something that I think a lot of people will like and will enjoy. And Coach, I've seen a couple people have talked about it and go, well, let's get this going, let's get it rocking. And at this point, the public is very interested in it. But first off, got to ask, for anyone who may not have seen Changeup Circle, let's get down to the basics of what is it first.
Great. So shout out to Lee Toole, too. I met him at the Iowa conference, and that was one of my first ones I went to. So
nice.
Hello to him as well. Him and I have been in contact a few times. So good to hear his name again. But to your question, why did this come into play? Through my years of baseball, I did a lot of coaching. I coached American Legion. I started getting into personal training. We found a need for one-on-one training.
Yep.
And what I discovered during that training, because it was more individualized, is that all my players, and so get this, I created this. Number one is to learn how to stay behind the ball and have good arm action. All my players were throwing baseballs like a slider. All of them, even my softball clients were doing that. So I had to straighten that out and get them from getting outside the baseball to getting behind the baseball with good wrist flexion so we can activate the forearm and get into natural pronation. So every time I play catch with my clients or my players, they would be doing that, and I'd say, well, you need to do this. And they say, okay. And then they go do that again. And so I had to put something in their hand to straighten that out. And so I had many variations of this, and that's essentially what the Changeup Circle does. So I can't teach them the circle change pitch until I get them throwing properly.
Okay.
And so if I can get them with a fast grip, whether it's 2-finger, 3-finger, whatever, and get them behind the baseball or behind the changeup circle and get flight like this, I can't teach them the changeup pitch. So after I created that and was able to straighten out everybody's throw, and they see it because they see the flight, they see the spin. If it's wobbling, they're off. They either pronated too soon, too hard, or they got outside. If they get outside, you're going to see this X. They're going to see that, and you're going to know that you got to turn it and get your hand behind
Okay.
the circle. So essentially, that's how it works. Gives you that feedback instantly. So they challenge each other to throw right, and you, as a coach, can see that really easily from afar. But then once I get them behind that, I teach the circle change, thus the change up circle
Okay.
reversal. So then that looks like this for me. Circle
Okay.
this way, keep it off the palm, pinky outside. Some of the younger guys can't get it there, so they can go 3-finger change up this way.
Okay.
I just ask them to keep it off the palm. Okay, and if they have to put their thumb under, then put their thumb. Where am I? I got 2 pictures on my screen, so keep your thumb under. But then we release this the same way, and if you can get it on a tilt, which I believe naturally happens for them, without changing arm slot, without changing your motion, you're going to get that kind of flight. If it wobbles from there, then either the finger pressure's off. We want to create even pressures because that's what's going to feel off the baseball.
Yep.
And if it's wobbling, like I said, they either pronated too hard, or if they get outside, you're going to see the X, or they pinch here. Okay, these two, the circle or the outside, they pinch. So we want them to be able to create this through those 2 fingers, okay, and feel that when it comes to the baseball, it's going to create a feel like no other. And then when they go from the change-up circle surface to a baseball, they surround it so much better. Okay, so we're creating that feel by keeping this dimension. Yeah, so it looks like it's bigger than a baseball, but it's actually the same both ways. Okay, end over end, same both ways. But going from that surface to this surface to the baseball, they surround it better, and it becomes a comfort thing. So we're creating feel through the change-up circle. And essentially, we have 2 other models, which is the 8-ounce model for 13 under. Anybody can use this.
Okay.
This is the 5-ounce model. Anybody can use this one. But this is also for 13 under. The 10-ounce one is for 14 and older. It's age appropriate. And I ask you to be careful when you're ordering. If your child's not 14 or older, please make sure you get the 8 and the 10. So we create feel through weight. One of the misconceptions is people think that we're throwing this to create muscle. We're not weight training. We're weight feeling.
Okay.
So we use this to create feel through those 2 fingers that we talked about. We're going to feel that. And then when we throw a weighted one to a baseball, again, we're creating feel. Like I said, we're going to surround that. We're going to feel that. And essentially, that's how the change-up circle works. 1 is throwing efficiency, and 2, we can add the change-up if we're throwing it properly. So that's, in a nutshell, how that works.
Well, and I really like that. Again, I what really drove me was I like that is that it mimics the baseball. It has a lot of you're not too far off. You're not off at all with what a baseball is. It seems like it can transition well. And with that, Coach, I also had a question. I was curious, and you answered the question of why the changeup look. But is this something that could also, maybe not if it's not this kind of the concept behind it, is this something that could also be applied or aid in other pitch selections as well? Is it something that, because I know that there's always somebody who's kind of struggling a little bit in the same mechanical form with other pitches with how they operate that. Is this something that can auxiliary benefit other pitches as well?
Yeah, so it's great for fastball efficiency. So you're going to get some velocity. If you can get behind the baseball, like we talked about, get into that wrist flexion, get into your natural pronation. It's going to help your fastball, and it's going to help for accuracy based on how it flies and where you're throwing it to. Okay, I'm a big proponent of target throwing.
Yep.
So if you're playing catch, put your glove at the chest, throw at the chest, put your glove over, throw at the glove. So if you're behind the baseball or behind the change-up circle, even on your fastball grip, larger guys would be using this grip.
Yep.
You're going to have more efficiency, more spin efficiency, which is a big deal for you, what kind of run or rise you're going to have or how your ball moves. But I believe it'll help your accuracy. As long as you're not changing arm slots to accommodate anything, I believe this helps that. And I know it does just by your spin. And then again, alternating between a baseball and a weighted changeup circle, baseball, weighted changeup circle.
Okay.
So, and we don't throw the weighted ones. We don't throw these 100 miles an hour. We throw
Yep.
them to create that feel we're talking about. We don't. The 5-ounce one we can throw into long toss. Okay. The problem with long toss is kids like to get outside because they forget to use their lower half. So this shows them that. So fastball, stay behind it. My whole team used it for
Huh?
that purpose, for throwing across the diamond, throwing from outfield to home, staying behind the baseball for the accuracy. But yes, it'll help your fastball. I don't believe it'll help your curveball. This won't give you the visual that you need for that,
Yeah.
and that's a different technique in itself.
Yep.
And that needs to be thrown properly. So, in some of the cases along the line, those aren't thrown properly. So, I like to introduce fastball, throwing efficiency, and then institute the changeup pitch. You know, I can go into statistics about. I watched the Little League World Series. I watched one batter take 10 pitches or a 10 pitch at bat, and 6 of them were curveballs. And you have to have something to compete. You know, you can't just throw. You can, but you got to throw fastball. You got to locate very well, but you need a secondary pitch. And I believe adding the changeup pitch is a great way to do it.
Definitely. Again, this looks like a phenomenal thing. And here, as I bring in Chad Erickson as well, really does seem like it kind of brings a full circle here. Chad, you got anything for us?
Yeah, so I think when you're adding a second pitch, change up's a natural progression, right? Because it's in general terms, it's a safe pitch on arms, right? And we're seeing more and more in arm injuries, younger and younger in age, and a lot of it has to do with your throwing technique, right? And if you can teach a kid how to get behind the ball instead of get around the ball, like Coach Joe is talking about, I mean, really, and this shows you visually. That's what's really intuitive about this product is I don't think that you have to be some high end pitching coach if you're using this with your younger players to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve. So hats off to you, Joe, for creating this. And I think, if you got a player that's throwing the changeup effectively along with their fastball, you're really in good shape, and you're saving the kid's arm too. So the question that I had, and we've spent some time talking about younger players and high school players. Have you seen any colleges adapt to this, or are there any professionals that are using this in a way that you didn't expect, or maybe they're using exactly the way you recommend that they use it?
So great questions. I know it's all across the country. We got it in tons of universities, tons of high schools, a lot of individuals and facilities. We have it in a couple pro organizations, and one of those actually liked it for the fastball efficiency as much as introducing the changeup. So yes, it's out there. That feedback was big. I'm still waiting for more feedback, and I know it works. We did a Rapsodo event where we created 2.2 to 6.3 more inches of horizontal run just in one session with 4 different age groups. But I'd like to go back to what you were talking about with the players and the injuries that are coming along. But that can wait if you'd like. And But to answer that question, yes, there's people out there, and that's one feedback I got. They like it for the fastball just as much as the changeup.
Okay.
Go ahead, Chad.
Yeah, I lost
Yeah,
Andrew.
no problem. So let's go. Let's circle back to the arm care there. What feedback are you getting in on that? I know having the weighted balls, and I know that you're saying, okay, be careful with the weighted balls. Make sure that your expectations are you're using these weighted balls not for weight training, but for feel, and so kind of dissect that a bit for us.
Yeah, so there's other items out there that can help you with weight training, and it starts with weight training. And there's plyo balls, there's Jaeger bands, those all for strength training stuff. Okay, my product is strictly for feel. So I don't want them throwing 100 miles an hour. I want them to throw it and get the result we're asking of it. But you're going to feel this by throwing a weighted one to baseball, and you're going to see the results. Okay. When I was talking about, we need to develop more pitches, and when I talked about the Little League World Series kid, those players see the curveball as a result. Okay, because they can see that result. We need to build confidence in our pitchers to institute the changeup pitch. They're going to see a result if they keep training for it. Okay, and as coaches and as parents, we got to keep up on them to keep training and using this and seeing their result and learning that feel of that pitch. Okay, because that's what it is. It's a field pitch, and you're going to see those results if you keep training. Okay, so we don't put the tee away and keep going to the batter's box. We keep using the tee. Okay, so we need to continually, in my mind, use the changeup circles to continue your throwing efficiency, and then instituting a changeup pitch. That will help you. Both those things will help you. Staying behind the baseball, instituting a changeup. And I will add that I was at the College World Series as a vendor. What a great event. And there was 5 kids that came up to my booth that already had Tommy John surgery. Okay.
Oh.
And one was 13 years old, and he showed me his scar. And some of the main concerns in baseball right now, especially at the youth level, it's not just pitchers, it's everybody. You know, shortstops, high school players, they're all doing it, and it has to do with throwing volume. People are throwing so much harder these days, and they're throwing too much. Okay, so that's one of the main factors of arm care. But if we're throwing right and we're staying behind the ball, instituting a secondary pitch, it takes the stress off of that other part of it. You know, the volume, the intensity. We got fatigue on all our players because they're taking it as early specialization sport instead of playing all the other sports or instituting a secondary sport. And they're not resting. Pitch counts are instituted everywhere. Are they being followed? Okay. Are we playing 2 games a day in the weekend? You know, are we playing 7 games in a week-long tournament? Okay. When is our rest? So that part of it has to happen as well for arm care for our athletes. But going back to throwing the baseball and instituting a changeup pitch, they're going to see that result. They need to see that once they start working with how to pronate the baseball, roll that over, and feel it through those 2 fingers we were talking about, because that's the result. So we're going to roll that over, and we're going to feel that through those 2. Okay, one of those will end up on top. But as a result thing, we have to institute efficiency, add that secondary pitch, the changeup pitch earlier. How much is it being used in Major League Baseball now because of their velocities?
Yeah.
You know, I saw one guy throw it 40% of the time in his game, whatever it was, a 7-inning game, whatever he pitched, 40% of the time. So it went from 8% of using the changeup to 12%, and now it's the out pitch. Major League Baseball wants more swings and misses. Okay, so going back to that, you can get all that out of that changeup.
Wow. And again, another reason why using the right equipment such as this would really go well here. Chad, I know you got a time crunch. You got anything else for us?
Yeah, I just just to reiterate what Joe said, I the changeup is sometimes an underutilized pitch because you're right, Coach, that it's the players especially at the youth level and at the high school level, they get instant gratification from dropping a curveball on somebody. And the entire crowd goes, "Whoa," right? And the changeup I think is underutilized and maybe overlooked, but it can be a devastating pitch. You don't have to have a great curveball. You could, if you have a devastating changeup to go along with your fastball, you're going to do really well. So I think this is great. It's a great tool. And the thing about it is that the kids can see, they know what the goal is and they can visualize it. That's the big thing here. I think with the design of your product, you can see if you throw it correctly or not. And I think that's meaningful, especially to kids. A lot of people are visual learners. Some of us are visual learners. And when you see that correct spin, it's easier to pick up on this ball than it would be a baseball, for instance, or most kids are throwing around dirty baseballs anyway, right? It's tough
Right.
to see what's going on. But so anyway, great product, and I hope you continue to see those sales blossom, and you get. I think as time goes on, you're really going to get a lot of buy-in from a lot of programs on this. So I'm happy that we have you here relatively early on in your process, and I look forward to seeing these things all over the place. I can see it happening.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Chad. It's a big deal, and thank you for the kudos. We just got to get more kids pitching, and we need to institute this pitch. We need to teach it. That's all. This helps that.
Well,
Absolutely.
Well, definitely. And of course, if anybody else wants it out there, of course, we'll make sure to get the website out there where you can go here for that as well. But again, as we go about this, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, again, like, subscribe, spread the word. We want to talk about it a whole lot more, including more with Coach Duchesne here. And Coach, I did also want to get your take here on the fact that you mentioned it. We're starting to see a lot of, I mean, in general, off-speed thrown. And I saw a statistic out there that you were kind of alluding to a little bit here. I think it had to have been 2022 or 23 that nearly 20% of all pitches thrown were, if not sliders, just off-speed pitches in general. And you mentioned now they're the out pitch. Do you feel like that's kind of de-emphasized the fastball in a sense? I mean, I know that at one point that was king. That was the pitch that, yeah, I mean, if you could throw mid-90s as a high schooler, you were the guy that everyone wanted first round, right? Because you could throw that fastball. Velocity was there. Has the conversation in your mind changed on that a little bit? Have we seen de-emphasis on that and more of the off-speed, particularly the changeup?
No. So the fastball has to maintain itself, or the changeup doesn't work. So the velocities these days, got Paul Skeens throwing 100 miles an hour consistently all the time, but he drops a 92 mile an hour changeup. That's insane. Okay, so think about that. The guys that used to throw 90, 92, they had to do an 82. So the fastball is still very, very important. You got to be able to use it. I know MLB pitchers are specific. Some have the rise, some have the run on their fastball.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to have their secondary pitch or their third pitch, which would be the breaking ball, the off-speed changeup pitch, which is obviously becoming more important, more instituted in the MLB. And it's because of velocities. It gets you those swings and misses I talked about. Okay, 99-mile-an-hour guy dropping an 88 is insane. Okay, especially hitting his timing.
Yep.
Disrupt that timing, it becomes a big deal. So no, to answer your question, no, they have to have that fastball and they have to maintain that. They got to be able to spot it. And I watched. I'll bring up a case for a 12-year-old. I befriended a kid. I went and watched him play. I watched his team play, and I watched who was calling the pitches and whatnot. And that particular pitcher threw 50% breaking balls. Okay, but then he tried throwing his fastball, and he kept throwing it out, trying to keep it away from the batter, but he couldn't throw it over the plate. So now he throws 10 pitches, 50% breaking balls, and then his fastball can't get over the plate. Okay, he has to establish the fastball and then institute his out pitch, and that could be the changeup. And like I said, develop it, and it'll be nasty for you.
Oh man. And again, we've all seen it. When the changeup is working perfectly, it just is. It's an artwork, really. It's an art form. And one of the questions also that I had, and that I feel like this product, the Changeup Circle, will go well for is, and on the other end of it, I've seen guys, and Coach, I wanted to get your take a little bit. A guy named Preston Morrison from TCU. I watched him when the Horned Frogs were in the College World Series, and I remember one game in particular. It was against Texas Tech. The Red Raiders were loving fastballs, loving to hit the hard one, and all of that. He came in and he threw maybe 5 90-mile-an-hour pitches. That's it. He lived in the 80s, and he dropped it down on a changeup. I saw it 68. And so I want to get your take on that too, that you can be effective without, now I guess I should ask that, can we still be effective without hitting that such high velocity and just find that good range? Or I guess how best to work for those who, again, may not hit Paul Skeen's numbers, but can still be effective with changing, as you mentioned, changing speeds?
That's a great question. And the answer is yes, you can definitely be effective. If you're that 88 guy and you're dropping to 68, or is that what it was? 88?
Yeah, like 60. He was dropping 20 off of it.
20. So, you're talking 20% drop. The average is 10%. If you can get between 8 and 12%, absolutely. We're talking about disrupting timing. If they're expecting a fastball in certain counts and you drop a changeup, 100% you're going to be effective. Okay? And keep this in mind as well, is one thing that makes them very effective if they're on a college team. And I'll use the Red Sox, for example. Back in the day when Tim Wakefield was throwing, he didn't throw hard. He'd throw knuckleball, right? But if you throw a Pedro in front of him and a Sale behind him, okay, he's going to be effective. And then the guys before him and after him are going to be effective because we're disrupting timing, because all those players saw those speeds. Now they got to adjust to a second speed. So again, hitting his timing, we can disrupt it even at those levels, and that can happen in the Little League era.
Yeah.
The travel ball, from U11 through U14, it can happen for those players. 100%. You need to have instituted, work on it where you get that actual movement. You can get horizontal run, vertical drop, or you can get both. I got some players that did both.
Yeah.
So yes, to qualify that question, yeah, 100%.
And then with that too, again, that having that changeup and making it effective. I mean, we don't want a concrete slider coming right down the middle. We don't want to lose the effectiveness of what the changeup will be. And you mentioned it briefly here. I want to come back to it a little bit here. When going, if someone wants to go get that changeup circle, what would you recommend here for getting that? I mean, you mentioned the different levels that you have. How would you recommend going about that? Because I assume that for me, my first thought was, well, I don't want one. I want more than one at a time. What would be your, what's your advice when it comes to kind of getting this and kind of strategizing what you want and what will meet your particular needs for throwing the changeup?
Great question again. And so what I say is to get a set, and depending on your age group,
Okay.
get a set because of how much I believe in using the weighted one and starting off with the 5-ounce model, which is the weight of a baseball.
Okay.
And then you mix them both in. Again, depending on your age, 14 and older for the 10 and 5.
Okay.
But if you have a high school group or college group, I recommend all three because you go through the system, the change-up circle system, the 5, the 8, the 10, back down through. Then you alternate between the 8 and the 5 and the baseball, and then the 10 and the baseball.
Yep.
Again, creating that feel that we talk about. So I kind of use those guidelines. Like a high school program has a JV group, so they definitely need the 5 and 8. And then the older kids can use all three. Right?
Yep.
So essentially that's what I would do. And then college teams obviously would use all three. But all age dependent. I've seen some folks that have ordered the 5 and 10 and they got a 10-year-old. So I'm asking them to be mindful of the age bracket, but definitely have a weighted one with the 5-ounce one. And that's just, I don't want to use that just as a sell. I'm telling you, that's how it works for you.
Yep. And with that as well here, I know that, gosh, Coach, I want to say that kids can be careful with things. I'd love to say that, 18-year-olds and under can, be careful with their equipment. But let's be honest, some of them won't be careful with equipment. I guess one of the questions also that came to my mind was durability. What's the durability like with these things? Because I can only imagine somebody's gonna misplace it, put it somewhere else, and I can only imagine it may end up some places that it shouldn't. But then again, I could only imagine that it may be overused a little bit. I don't know if it can be overused. I guess that's a side question. But ultimately, kind of going to what's the durability like of the change-up circle, and what can parents who are trying to get this for their kid, or even players themselves trying to get it, what can they expect from the durability standpoint?
Yeah, and so I love the durability part of this thing. I'm going to share with you. I got one customer let his dog got a hold of it.
Oh no!
And it's still uphill. Yeah, it was hilarious. But we helped him. We helped him out, and it was all chewed up and still intact as a whole, but with some dog teeth mark. But I'll give you this example. We were at the College World Series, and we had a throwing station. And behind the throwing station was an aluminum fence. And all the players that were throwing it actually went into the net, and it was hitting the fence. And we did that for 12 days. And all of the circles that we were using all stayed intact. It's just very durable when it comes to that part of it. I don't recommend throwing it off a wall. We don't recommend batting it. And we don't recommend throwing it on concrete. So naturally, you're going to have some scrapes, but it's very durable, and I'm really pleased with the way it came out.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's going to get the job done. You don't have to worry about that because things happen. I mean, let's be honest. Teenagers, I've been there. I've done some damage to some equipment. So again, this is something that it seems, ladies and gentlemen, you really don't have to worry about when it comes to the durability of this. It seems like it's going to go well and it's going to hit up well. And so one of the things, again, Coach, you talked about why, the intent behind it, the reason behind it, really getting that form in there, getting the weight down, getting the feel down. Man, that's pretty huge. And as we keep having this conversation, I'll admit, beforehand, I did some digging because I love to talk about the experiences that people have to get here. And obviously, Coach, you didn't just wake up one day and go, you know what? I'm going to do something with the changeup pitch. I'm going to make a product out of nowhere. Kind of take us through your history, because you had mentioned briefly a little bit. You have been in the game for a while, so this isn't something, ladies and gentlemen, that just popped up again on the screen, and all of a sudden someone claimed that they knew what they were doing. Coach, you do know because you've lived through it.
Yes, Andrew, that's true. And I'll share a little story because it is kind of, I woke up one morning and said, I'm going to do something like this. So
Okay.
I'll share that at the end. But yeah, so I've been in the game for over 50 years, both as a player and a coach. And then over those years, I played my Little League in Western Massachusetts back when Little League had a system where you played from 8 through 15. 13s and 15s were playing with each other. And nowadays it goes to majors, and Little League did a great thing by adding the intermediate level, which because there was a gap where we were losing 13-year-olds because of the size of the diamond. And so they went to an intermediate level and then a junior program, which kept the flow going. So I thought that was a great move by them. And for me, I was 13 playing with 15s back in the day because we all played every single day. Okay. And then I played my American Legion baseball in Western Mass, my high school baseball. American Legion was one of the greatest experiences for me. My hometown didn't have a team, and we played in a town next door, and we had such great talent and wonderful people. What a great experience for me. And from there, I played in our semi-pro league. I was a catcher, as mentioned, and I played that for 10 years and had another great experience. And during that, life happens, and I started having children. I had a son, and I started coaching him when he was available in Little League. I got involved with Little League, became a board member, and that's where I noticed some deficiency and help that was needed in Little League and in our baseball program in our hometown. So they labeled me the clinic coordinator. So I put on clinics for kids. I brought in people for one of my biggest things is coaching coaches to coach the kids. Okay, because we have parents that want to come and help. We want to be able to teach the kids the right way. So we had many a clinic that came through for the coaches. And then we had players clinics. We had hundreds of kids every year in tandem with my American Legion team that I coached and the Williston Northampton School. Matt Sawyer and his players, we put on Little League clinics to make it fun, keep people interested in baseball and softball. Yep. And that part was a great experience. So through all that, I noticed a need for one-on-one training, and parents were looking for a place to go that their player could get a little extra that they can't get in a group setting.
Okay.
So that's where basic baseball came in, which is I started that over 20 years ago now, 24 years. And along the way, I was blessed with having my own training center at my home. Mm-hmm. So I had a full field, batting cages and whatnot. And through all this experience, on top of that, I coached American Legion. I coached travel ball. After that, I got to coach my daughter's team in softball. So I saw all that. But during that training and during coaching, I noticed these players throwing baseballs like sliders, throwing softballs like sliders. And that's where I really got frustrated with the verbal approach. I'm a big guy in mirror coaching where you stand in front of them the way they're going to throw, and they still couldn't pull it off. So I had variations of this throughout the years, and I had to put something in their hand to straighten out their throw. Like we talked about, I need them to throw efficiently first. And then I said, well, how can I teach the changeup pitch? And there's many different variations of changeup pitches. The Vulcan, I get it. The easiest one for me to teach is the changeup, is the circle change. Okay, so that's where I said, well, let me use this. And sure enough, we're creating that feel. All of a sudden, kids are seeing some run. And just as importantly, they're seeing a good, accurate throw. But then we instituted a changeup pitch.
Yeah.
So here comes the part where it was overnight. So I'm semi-retired, and I'm sitting. I reside in Florida now, and I'm sitting there, and my wife came up to me and said to me, "You need to do something with this because it's helpful.
Yep.
It needs to get out there." And so that was a few years ago, and I put all my time into it, to developing it into what it is today, including its use, its visual, its
Yep.
feel. All that came into play, and so that's pretty much my story about how I played, I coached, and when I saw that something needed to be done, and
Yep.
this was the answer.
And again, what still makes it so amazing to me is we still sit here at the conversation, and you brought up the best example, from young kids all the way to professionals. It does matter how you do it. You can't just get out there and whirl it. The right preparation, the right techniques. This thing, ladies and gentlemen, does that. It gives the right technique here, and it really seems. I mean, Coach, correct me if I'm wrong, but in a world where there's so many things out there that claim this, I mean, there's all these complex systems, complex techniques, complex equipment. You got something here that it isn't complex. I mean, you just talked about when you see it working right, when you see it working or not working right. And it just seems, in a world where there's enough complexities out there, man, isn't it nice to have something that's quick, that's something that you can utilize. It's versatile, but it's not something that I need a 5-page manual for.
Correct. And it can get complicated. Pitching, throwing baseballs, all that can get complicated. I've been in a few major league camps, and they talk about all these statistics, the ratios, the
Yep.
arm slots, what goes on here and there. We don't want to confuse it, and to me, keep it simple. And this does that, and it does it for you based on its feedback. So that's true.
Yeah. And man, I can't think of anything really that would be better than this because of the way, the design, everything. Really cool design here. I know you already talked about that here, so I won't get too much into that. Again, the design to mimic the exact, whether it's the weight of the baseball, the circular shape. Love that fact. Everything that goes into that. When you thought about that a little bit here, Coach, I mean, how long did it take you, or how quickly did that shape come into your head, that design? Because for me, I don't know, it might take me a couple, millennia to get to that point. It's how quickly did it come to your mind to do that type of shape, or is that cylindrical, that kind of thing? Or did it take a little while? I mean, ultimately, I can only assume that it didn't take very long.
No, it was day one. That's what I used. That's what I used, and the result was instant. So I had to stay with it.
Yeah.
But I did add the finger grooves because I did have questions. Some athletes were asking me, where do I put my fingers?
Yep.
Okay, so how do I set that up? And so we put the finger grooves on the top and bottom, so there's no confusion anywhere else. So they have an understanding. A lot of guys like to throw their fastball and put that thumb be centered on the baseball. So
Yep.
that can happen. So about the only thing I did was add the finger grooves to help athletes understand where to put them, make adjustments on it. But the stripes and the cylinder was instant. You had to see it.
Man, and that's really kind of the cool thing. Again, I love how we get there. Again, the experience that gets us there, and kind of that aha moment, and really that's really, really cool. But one of the things that I will wrap up here with, Coach, is, again, not only is this thing durable, not only has it the science behind it, from field technique and more, but you mentioned you're out there. And I go to the College World Series all the time, hundreds, thousands of people go to the College World Series, and but you're doing more than that. I've seen a couple different times on social media people thanking you for coming out doing clinics, doing clinic work, going out there. You mentioned you like to do that. Where I guess part of the question is where they can find you with all of that. But what else? I guess what else do you like to do with this? How do you get this out there? And that seems to be one of the many ways that people see you out and about.
Yeah, so we attend a lot of events throughout the year. I just got back last month from the American Legion World Series, which
Yep.
was a treat, and I was able to talk baseball with a bunch of Legion players and Legion coaches, and what a great experience was that. And unfortunately, I was never able to get my team there, so I was able to be there anyway. Um, and then we go to the ABCA, and we go to, we were in Iowa that particular year, so we
Yep.
pick 3 or 4 a year to go. Then I go to tournaments. We're lining up 2025 for tournaments. Obviously we're online, and as far as the clinics, that's something I'm starting, and it's going to be on my website. I would love to be able to come out to your facility and put on a clinic for your players, and maybe get some change-up circles in their hands. Put on a clinic for your coaches. The best way to do that and ask information about that is through the website. Just reach out to me through the website. I answer all the emails that come in, and please check your spam folders, because I do answer them, and I want to make sure you get the answers you're looking for. And if you need help with your product, reach out to us through that, and I'll be able to help you through that and institute and help you figure out how to get the most benefit out of the change-up circle.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited about. I was just talking to a gentleman from Wisconsin. They have like 20 teams. I would love to get out there to show them how to institute it and get the best use out of it. So I'm working on that, and I'm trying to line up my schedule. I got another gentleman in Lake St. Louis, trying to get coordinating a date for them. So reach out to us, and maybe we can put a clinic together. And I love to put on a coaches one to help the coaches, like I talked about at the beginning, help the coaches teach the kids, the proper techniques. And sometimes that little info can really give a player an edge.
Yeah, man, gosh, in the world that we live in today, any edge would be great. And again, ladies and gentlemen, we have it down there. You saw it pop up a little bit ago. Changeupcircle.com. Head on over there and catch up on a lot of it. Again, all the things are there, from bestsellers and more. And so a great chance for you to kind of catch up what's going on there and how that works. And again, get yourself as much as you can. And of course, along the way, again, reach out. I believe, like you said, Coach, email there, way to get in contact, all that stuff is there. And again, just get it now while you can, and get the off season working, because it's important everywhere. But
yeah, and there's some information also on my Facebook page and my Instagram page at Changeup Circle.
Perfect. Well, hey, and again, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to reach out today, and all coaches out there, really, again, reach out and and get this going. Of course, one of the things that we love is getting to see all the great stuff here. Coach has a lot of experience behind it, so hey, make sure to get that out there today. But Coach, thanks again for taking the time here. I know we've taken quite a bit of your time, but appreciate it here, because again, this is something where we don't do a ton of product, but looking at this, there's a number of people out there that really enjoy it, and I hope everyone else can get out there too. It helps the arms, it helps the care of the arm, as well as getting the impact in. So check it out today. But Coach, thanks again for joining us today.
Andrew, it's a big deal. I appreciate you reaching out, and I'm glad we got together.
Me too. And hey, we will definitely, this isn't the only time, the last time we'll have this conversation. Many more to come, and I can't wait to do something in person too. That'd be great.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Andrew. Be well.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, that is the one and only Coach Joe Duchesne of Changeup Circle. Want to make sure that you get there today. We'll make sure to get it out there on our website as well, and we'll get it up on social media, tag all of that. So get that today. Great stuff. And that wraps up for me. Of course, the whole dad thing. I got to go get kids. I got to have all that stuff. Teach them about the Changeup Circle. That's for one. Got to add that onto my list. But again, make sure to check that out. Again, as always, the Changeup Circle website right there. It's changeupcircle.com. Simple, all the ways. Contact them, Facebook, Instagram as well today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, want to say thank you for tuning in. Any questions or anything that we could ask Coach Duchesne as well, hit us up, iabaseball1@gmail.com. And if you don't reach out, we can reach out for you. Many ways to reach out to Coach. And until we see each other next time, stay safe on the base pass. Thanks again, guys.